So let's talk about AI. I mean, it's one of the hottest topics when it comes to venture investment, even ICO. I look at the pipeline, I saw at least like 15, 20 ICOs going for 30 million, 50 million, I mean, some big numbers. A lot of movements, a lot of expectations. So I would love us to kind of share our thoughts about what's really going on, not just in the AI side, but the decentralized AI. So before we get to that, why don't we just spend a little bit of time introducing ourselves. Start with Simone.
Hello everyone, thank you Josh for having us. It's a great pleasure being here. You're doing an amazing job. Thanks so much for holding this panel. My name is Simone GIACOMELLI. I'm one of the co-founders of Singularity, and so we've been involved in the space of intersection between blockchain and AI. And I've been in the blockchain space for quite a while. I started a cybersecurity company based in the Middle East called Volcom, and it's a pleasure to be here today and share some of the thoughts.
And you did an ICO for Singularity that back in December. You raised, what was it, 30 and 40 million?
Yeah, we raised 36 million in 2 seconds, and it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Yeah,
30 seconds. Yeah. Incredible.
And I'm grateful to have some of my friends here, dear friends from the industry, colleagues, to come at the panel. So thanks for having us.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Miko Gorilowsky, and I'm founder of Moderator. We focus on gathering the data for AI on a decentralized way. So we build a platform for decentralized IoT connectivity, and I'm a big fan of blockchain, basically acting in this space for almost 7 years. Besides this, like, I'm, how to say, sitting on both chairs, I have also, like, I'm founder of the company who focus on IoT hardware, so, and we benefit from the out of it. As for our plans, we currently closing the first token sale round together with strategic equity investments from major companies acting in this space.
Hey, my name is DMITRY, and I'm founder of DIMITRY. We focused on how to build decentralized data annotation, cross-validation, and like full stack to build any AI application for enterprise. And for the past 10 years, I was mostly engaged in AI for enterprises. I sold my previous company 2 years ago, and we just want to continue to democratize AI for any company besides Facebook, Amazon, Google, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm PASCAL. My background is computational neuroscience actually, and I got interested in the idea of artificial intelligence rather than biological intelligence in order to sort of replicate some of the things that we humans can do to solve real-world problems. And by doing that, founded a number of companies in different spaces. Looks pretty crazy in like agriculture, cybersecurity, process automation, and others. And I worked with a couple of companies, and now I'm heading a small research team focusing on topics in AI and machine learning that are especially ethically motivated. Things like distributed machine learning, not necessarily on the blockchain, but things like federated learning, if any one of you knows about that, the idea of being able to, not having to centralize and pool a data set, such as things like, the Facebook scandal recently doesn't necessarily need to happen, but being able to train and gather intelligence from decentralized data sets, and still being able to pool the insight from that. So that's some of the topics I'm very interested in, and on the side I do some angel investments and advise also a couple of project companies.
Yeah. So the topic of AI. So there are huge companies in AI, Google, IBM, and I also had personal experience dealing with IBM was deeply disappointed. I actually don't believe in them anymore. So there's something about the current AI initiatives taken by large incumbents. Somehow it's not working. And some of them are already open source. So my question to you is, when we say decentralized AI, how are we different? What defines what we do as decentralized open source AI relative to, let's say, Google, IBM, Baidu, and so on?
Yeah, I'll start. Probably I'll pass my words to my colleagues. And the main thing about AI that's what to say, you shit in, shit out, and this exactly means that the companies who focus on niche applications, they rock. And I'm not against of Google, and because Google provides the underground layer of computation, and they're doing this good. And the same is for Watson. You just need to cook it well. And the companies like DeepRay, for example, they focus on multiple niche applications, and they focus on exactly to don't pass the sheet on an input of machine learning algorithms. And that's exactly how they crowdsource and decentralize the data preparation and annotation. Probably Dimitri will take the word next second. And that's actually the underground thing. It's like, how to say, if you say, I have just one company making pasta very bad, then you just need to find 100 other companies who do this well and just check the quality.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, let me add several points. From our previous experience for 10 years in AI, we did a lot of real life application for real B2Bs, and we very grounded on that. So we had several insights what we understood, and a lot of people they misunderstood this whenever they hear AI, and of course in the professional community it's preferred to say machine learning, not AI, not to sound like a BS. So in many data science conference usually machine learning, data science, etc. So what we understood that, as you said already, it's really hard to create any general AI solution which works good in any application. So we do believe for the next 10 years in very narrow application of machine learning. So it's going to be millions of custom narrow machine learning cases for any narrow facility, surveillance, whatever, for somebody, for the company, etc. But it's really hard to do generally. Second, current state of AI is not about computational power. There is no need to have cheaper computation. There is no need to have decentralized computation. This is not the thing. You need to be decentralized. In any real life project, computational power cost is just 1 to 5%. Even if you make it 2 times cheaper, there is not much going to be disrupted there. And another point, current state of AI is not about AI models. So models have become commodity right now. Models not going to give you competitive edge. Even if you invent some new model, it's going to give you 3 months opportunity window to strive. That's it. So current state of AI, it's more about to have very high quality custom data for this particular use case. And right now it's become very easy to build AI from any out-of-the-box model. And this is how, for example, we collaborate with Meet company. They provide a lot of data for us from sensors. And we also collaborate with SIMONE, which provide a lot for us infrastructure and different AI applications which we connect to our arm. So it's not about one unified AI. This is why I don't believe that Google gonna thrive or Facebook gonna thrive. Future is about a lot of companies which gonna create millions of custom narrow AI which gonna work together, connect together, complement each other, and maybe you're gonna add something.
Sure, I'll let PASCAL go first because I can see this wrinkle on me. Okay.
One of the things that whenever we talk, and I've done some consulting work for larger corporations and work for Google myself in the brain team and other things, and when executives typically talk about AI, they usually think of like a magic black box that you put some data and some very expensive people in, and you know, a fully automated, perfect process comes out. But the way it kind of actually works is, as you perfectly sort of nailed, it's the big hype about AI today is actually about deep learning, and the reason that happens is because computational power, as you said, is becoming more and more available and cheap. And that's like the easiest way to look at it is you look at like the NVIDIA stock and things like that. It's like everyone can have access to graphics cards today. You need those graphics cards to do the matrix multiplication, which is basically AI in the deep learning sense of AI. And what deep learning actually does is it looks at a highly complex data set, and it tries to fit a highly dimensional sort of boundary, many boundaries across that highly dimensional data set, and put some labels on them that you previously gave them. There's nothing added in that sense. It's basically abstracting from the data set you give it. And that's why this you know, shit in, shit out thing kind of makes it. And the thing that we as a AI machine learning community do not have today, and I just want to be very clear with that, is we don't have intelligence in the sense that we humans would have it, in the sense of, if you show me one cup that looks, you know, you can get the idea of, you can put water into it, I can hold it somewhere, and then I can drink out of it. That's how you would define a cup. And I can show you 2 or 3 different cups, and then I show you like some crazy Picasso-style thing that doesn't really look like a cup, but you can still, you can still know I can put water into it and drink out of it, therefore it's a cup. Computers today cannot at all do that. And that's sort of why the bottleneck in machine learning and AI is data today. And there's a lot of data that's super valuable, but that's also super privacy sensitive, and people don't want to give it away, or don't want to, or because of jurisdictions, can't upload it to some sort of centralized server. And that's where I think the value of decentralized AI, especially decentralized data sets for AI, really comes into play. And the idea of being able to train on the, that's why what Google Photos, for example, is trying to do, is they say, hey, you can get free cloud storage for all your photos, but oh, by the way, you have to upload them on our cloud so we can use them as a training data set, and that way we can build better models. Now, some people do that, some people don't do that, or don't want to, and the majority of the people in the future, as you know, privacy and those things become more and more of public awareness, will not do these things. And then, you know, you will see AI procrastinating very, very heavily unless we're able to solve the problem of being able to crowdsource data sets and gather the intelligence and make it available to everyone in some setting. So that's why I think decentralized machine learning, and to use the correct word, decentralized machine learning or deep learning in that sense, is going to be a key success factor for the entire industry to thrive in the next years.
Yeah. Simone?
Sure. Yeah, I think when we refer to AI and more generally blockchain and AI, and what is, you know, it's one of the subset of the decentralized AI. And I think, having been involved in the crypto space for a while, I think there's a great opportunity to apply some of the characteristics from blockchain to AI in order to accelerate the advent of some of the decentralized AI company and organization. So the ability of having open-ended, open-access network, it really can allow a whole new, not only technology stack to be developed, but access to capital, but most importantly, access to talent around the world. I think it's going to be one of the key factors. I mean, if you look at the stage right now, and we have, you know, people coming from different parts of the world, and what's remarkable in the blockchain and AI space is that you see a lot of initiatives coming from all around the world. And so we have Singularity Net. We have an office in Africa, in Nova Sigir. We have an office in Ethiopia, one in South America, and of course the headquarters is in Hong Kong. So just within our organization, we're highly distributed. I think the ecosystems that connects all these dots is done by data, is done by processing, is done by algorithm. And I think there are some interesting overlapping interoperation between all this company. As you said before, there's been incredible amount of marketplace for data or AI that has been launched just over the last couple of quarters.
Yep.
And I think one of the key factors in order to really bring this off the ground is to be able to agree on some type of standards for interoperability, or more than standard best practice, I would say. And so this is some of the things that I've been deeply involved with, and that's how some of the companies here are collaborating. So for example, at SingularityNet, we're focusing right now in building a platform, a generalized purpose platform, so you can abstract different cloud computing platform from Google Cloud, AWS, Mix for IBM, and then be able to use it and deploy AI where the data are. So that's the first step. So the mantra that we're choosing at SingularityNet, it's really to incremental decentralization, so that we can deploy application that works in the real world. And then as we iterated the technology cycles, then we're able to decentralize more and more. And I think we'll see a lot of great opportunity happening that way.
Yeah, I just want to add probably one more word. Thinking about decentralization of AI, to turn on your imagination is, just imagine oil company. It's currently a very centralized structure, very secretive in terms of the data. So if you wanted to be 5-10 years ahead of the time, think about oil company as a platform data provider, because if you think about how to share your data to the world, then you benefit from crowdsourcing and other data which will become available to you. And that's all about this, because data is actually the key secretive source to be succeeded. And if you just sit on top of the data and you don't know what to do with the data, you'll be basically always 100 years in the past. Think about your data as a platform, who can benefit out of it, and then you will find guys who can help you to succeed.
Yeah. When I look at AI space, I see, as I said during my opening remark, there are only limited number of AI experts out there who could add true value to the whole ecosystem. And yet, unless you are large corporations with data, computational power, and money, it's hard to bring those scientists to join you. And the thing that excites me about decentralized AI is building the new ecosystem. It's largely driven by some kind of DAO that essentially provides the new reward system for those new up-and-coming engineers to be able to say no to Google, no to IBM, and said, I could make more money by being a solo AI engineer joining this ecosystem. To put it more bluntly, okay, let's say I just graduated from Carnegie Mellon, and I have the MS in artificial intelligence. It's pretty conceivable that I could command about $400,000 in salaries and stock options. For me to say no to that, it's pretty hard. I'm 25, and say no to almost a $500,000 annual package. How can I say no to that? And it's Google. But if I join Google, I'm going to be a bona fide ad tech optimization engineer. Okay? My contribution as an AI engineer to this AI work is to make more money by manipulating these banner ads, versus I want to work on a really cool AI project, and but I need to get paid, and I want to actually make $1 million doing that. How can I do that? Where is the ecosystem that I could join, make money, and then pursue my dream? That excites me. That's, to me, what decentralized open source AI could be. Any comments?
Yeah, so been there, done that in that sense, right? I was blinded by an offer that you just referred to, right, from like one of the most prestigious machine learning groups in the world, the Google Brain Group. And after about a year at almost embarrassing to say it took me that long, but after about that amount of time, you sit there and realize the impact I'm having with my time is basically people buying things that they probably wouldn't need otherwise. Basically driving consumerism, because that's still what drives about 90% of the profit of those companies. And actually, you know, what you said, like, there's a very, very strong value drive in most of the young AI machine learning talent today. I mean, I guess everyone on stage here, like, we could all be working for Amazon, Google, whatever right now, but we've decided not to because we want to have bigger impact. And I don't even think it's all that much about financing. When you really, really just want to make money with the skill set of machine learning and the AI, you start your small consultancy company and you charge $5,000 to $10,000 a day to help corporations, you know, solve their data science challenges. And that's also going to be very boring, and maybe you might have, you know, a bigger impact on the overall society than just working for one, but it's also not that ethically exciting. And I think what decentralized AI machine learning can do is you can certainly unlock, and it was beautifully said on the panel before, you can start addressing challenges that are not addressed by the current economic model. Things like healthcare, right? Consumerism. If you think about the entire world's economic world today, it's all about consumption. Everyone needs us to consume more, buy more clothes, drink more alcohol, consume more cigarettes, whatever. But it's always about more. And actually, if you then contrast that to what is best for us as human beings, is sometimes it's less, right? So we should be doing more exercise, spending less time in front of Netflix and others, and we should probably be consuming less sugar and things like that. But the entire industry fights against that by trying to use, you know, very sophisticated psychometrics, psychology, machine learning, and, you know, people like us that are being abused, I almost say, to get other people to do things they probably shouldn't be doing. And it doesn't make sense for this economic model to start helping people to make better decisions, to start helping people to maybe consume less and all these things. And these are applications that you can basically only start financing and making possible by taking you know, some of this talent, data, infrastructure, power out of the hands of, you know, those consumer-driven companies and bringing it into everyone's, and basically democratizing access to machine learning. I think that's what it in the end is all about. And then you can unlock, you know, all these beautiful challenges.
So I can say like a few statements. One is I'm not that strong against Google because they also contribute a lot to open source. So they give a lot of tools and we all benefit out of it. Second, being entrepreneur is all about, how to say, mood swings. So like from I'll fly to Mars tomorrow, I'll kill myself for nothing. So everyone should decide by his own. So I cannot recommend being entrepreneur for everyone because no one say thank you before you like fly to Mars. Third thing, decentralizing is basically focusing on niche. Google is currently, as I said, like they're focusing on infrastructure. And all the niche applications, like Dimitri was telling us about, like strong niche applications for machine learning AI, the market is free. There's nothing there. There's absolutely zero. Watson is not focusing on quality for pizza control or like quality control for pizza factory. Watson does nothing. They just provide a basic structure. So there's absolutely green field for everyone on AI, and corporation they do nothing. They just provide a basic layer because that's exactly what they can do. And AI is already very democratic community because all the neural networks we know, they all open source. It's actually every single technology is probably 1 to 2 month gap before, like from the point where someone invented a new type of the neural network till it will become available for everyone. So I can say it's an absolute dream of crowdsourcing and entrepreneurship, because every single technology, like which is like Pentagon or like secretive Chinese government factories are using, is becoming available within a week. So I can sit down at home with my team out of 5 people and use the like basically 0-day technologies just by my hands. And we don't need to change that much in this type of community, but for pushing the niche applications and making I can say, if we want to make it rolling, we just need to promote successful applications, not to do like a lot of blah 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 and bullshit bingo, but say, hey, those guys do very good quality control for pizza factory. They are working. They are like capturing the market, and that's actually there is no other things we need to do there.
Simone?
Yeah, I thought all the contributions were very valuable. The question was awesome. I think it's worth noticing there are 3 main points that I feel very strong about. Let me spend my whole time into this field. So the first one that you asked for is the incentive part. So I believe insofar that we can use blockchain and open access network to create an economic forcing function such that we can outgrow and outcompete what the reward system in a typically centralized company would look like for a highly educated engineer. That's great. That's an incredible additional value to society and technology as a whole. I believe we're coming from a decade of deep stagnation in AI, where we fail most of the promises that we kept. And I believe this one could be a great trend that will allow us to bring some of the growth that was always expected. The second thing, if you go down and deconstruct how can blockchain be applied to AI, I think there's not really that many applications. So I am myself quite surprised to see all these new projects coming out. I mean, if they probably throw a stone out of the window, I might eat somebody working on blockchain and AI now. So I mean, besides the fact that it's cool, I thought a singularity that we thought deeply about. Actually, to close on the first one, a singularity that will launch the token. It's a utility token. It's called AGI. It's worth noticing that the largest pool. It's actually a reward pool for incentivized open source development over the next decades. And all the projects that are on the stage, and I know the DMITRY as well, is planning to do so. So it's not just about the money that are raised now, but the sense of condition that will be along the way. So just the second point, I think we're using blockchain for some specific use cases. So just a piece of the stack. We're using blockchain to identify new agents that are deploying the platform. We use that to track the reputation, and then to have interoperable exchange of value across jurisdiction. So those are the 3 things we use blockchain for, and I think we'll see a lot of this use case more coming. And then the other thing, which I think is the most important one, which is the one that is actually consumer facing, is how many of you have heard about proof of stake based economy, right? So the vast majority of the economy that are being deployed, that are going to be deployed, are based on proof of stake. Now, there is a fundamental problem with having open access network that is based on proof of stake that, to me, is still unsolved. And it's an open challenge that we are looking closely into singularity and beyond. And the general problem is called the assignment of credits, which is true in economics as it is in cognition, which applies to AI. And the assignment of credit problem is when an overall system performs something good, how do you go back and reward all the subparts that have contributed to that value? So when you have a community of players and actors in the economy that are all working to an end goal, how do you reward any parts of this community? I mean, in the economic are failing at the moment because bankers make more money than scientists just because they're closer to the chain of value, the contribution that they make. And similarly, I mean, in this open access network, how do you reward the staking pool on a daily basis? How do you assign a reputation score that can be minting the tokens, that is actually credible, that is resilient? How do you use this reputation system to build an immune system for the network so that the free riders or bad actors are prevented to stake there? I think those are very important parts, and I think that's where AI can really come in.
Absolutely.
And that's there's hundreds and hundreds of $1 million worth of crypto as we speak that are going to be devoted into staking. And we don't really know how to reward that. And, talking with some friends at Steam, they have a huge problem there. And this is a whole across the industry. So those are some of the things that are very exciting. And that I think we can, we're all coming together to solve in the decentralized AI ecosystem.
Very exciting.
Yeah, let me add also. So I really heard a lot of points, and I want to get back to the point how to democratize AI for those students who want to work as a sole entrepreneur or as a sole data scientist, not to work on Amazon and like any Google. And let me show the example how we see this problem. I used to have a lot of meetups, so we ran meetups for B2B and data scientists because we saw that there is a problem on the market. There's a huge gap between B2Bs and data scientists. On the other hand, we had 10,000 data scientists, which are very smart. It's like the smartest guy on the earth. And they know how to build very sophisticated AI model, but they don't understand about use case, they don't know about data, they don't know about business, about what is real problem, what is not, and they ended up to have a lot of out of space, conceptual AI which is gonna help everywhere, and they ended to have a lot of B2C use cases, because B2C use cases are very available, they have all this data, they know how to deal with them, but what we saw that 99.9% of use cases are hidden on industries. And on the other side, a lot of B2Bs, they know what to do, they know about use cases, they sit on a lot of data, and they're very afraid to publish this data, to give this data to anybody. They don't understand how to deal with data, how to prepare this data, and we see this huge gap. Use cases, smart data scientists, and those businesses, whenever you ask them, I had a lot of conversation in San Francisco, you meet somebody from big corporation, they tell you, oh, we had $30 million budget for deep learning, you're excited, start to speak to them, and you understand they don't know what is deep learning is. So they already have a budget for deep learning, but they have nothing as understanding what is AI, what is deep learning, what is possible, what is not. And we spent a lot of time trying to bridge this gap, bring somebody from business, bring somebody from data science community, and try to make them collaborate, etc. And we think that the key problem right now is to motivate, to build kind of protocol, to build infrastructure, so we can bring a lot of those unique B2B use cases, deal with those data security problems, data fraud problems, so they're going to be motivated to share the data privately to some data scientists, to share use cases, etc. And this use case, which Meet told about Cortical Pizza, is actually a real-life use case, which we developed as a showcase. It's very simple. We built AI for identifying quality of pizza. But that AI, it works only for one particular pizza provider. It's not general pizza quality control AI. It's just unique to a particular data provider. But whenever we post this use case to our platform, to the community, we're gonna say, okay guys, this is what is possible right now. You can find any local pizza provider in China, in US, in Europe, and you can leverage every project like Singularity, Maika, etc., to have these puzzles and to be independent data scientists who enable to build this particular use case to your local pizza provider. And we're gonna promote any other narrow use case, so any data scientist in the world can have ability to be empowered and build this particular use case. And as been said already, Google, Facebook, Amazon, they're not going to focus on those particular B2B use cases. For them, any particular B2B use case is very small. They're going to focus just on general AI infrastructure, any general AI assistant, Alexa, Siri, whatsoever. But you need to remember that 99.9% of use cases, they're hidden B2B use cases and going to be like millions of applications, and they're available for any data scientist to build.
Yeah, just add that even through my journey, how to say, how to decentralize IoT and I realized that building successful use case, changing the world, even like making better place and all blah blah blah. So I require consulting company, big one, who can actually push it to the customers, to the businesses, because I'm not that guy. I need integrator company who will actually work on a place, put the sensors, make a network, blah blah blah. I need actually 2 more companies around me to do this. So I mean, it's all about how like geek IT guy realize that he needs a sales guy, business guy, marketing guy behind him, behind his tremendous technology to build a business. So it's all about networking, and I can say working 1-2 years at Google will definitely help everyone, because changing the world is all about collaboration. It's all about how we collaborate with the DIMITRY, how we collaborate with the tens of other companies. Collaboration is the key, not just like spreading the thing. Because if you like spread the people in a desert, 1 kilometer like from another, they'll do nothing.
And I absolutely totally agree with you. And the thing that I see now is all of us are trying to build this decentralized AI ecosystem. In it, there are many sort of critical components that need to be built. You said integration or a use case or even marketing. There are many functions that need to be played out by many players in the ecosystem. So then the issue of interoperability. How do you connect with one constituent part with another? Maybe one part use, different type of blockchain, and then the other one use entirely different type of blockchain. So then connecting these building blocks to create the ecosystem. Is that just some kind of AI trick, or like is it possible?
Yeah, I can say that's exactly the word I can say. I want to say this at the end, but I don't like the word decentralized, because it's like decoupling, whatever. It's like the topic we currently have on a stage is about community-driven AI. It's not about decentralization at all. It's about how we collaborate with the big businesses, how small individuals collaborate with the small teams, how small teams collaborate with each other. So it's all about connections. It's not about something. And because making a business, making me like myself happy, is about collaborating with each other. We're all human beings. We're all created to talk to each other, collaborate with each other, having sex with each other, whatever. And it's all about making connections on all levels. And so it's all about creating community and making you believe. Elon Musk actually changing the world because people look at him and believe in his ideas, how he wants to change the world. It's all about following, talking, collaborating. And the problem with the big companies, they sometimes against collaboration. They like competing, destructing, prohibiting. And so think positive, talk to each other, find nice people, work with them. That's how we all do here.
Simone?
Yeah, I think that there is much to say. I think my full position will require quite a long explanation, but I think to keep, I think what I said before, I think should be the driving force. I think the incremental decentralization is really the way to go. There's no way right now that we can deploy an alternative valuable solution to a large consultancy company running AI nodes on platform. Like it's not going to scale. It's not going to work. So I do believe that for now, it's going to be a combination of this. I think also it's very important how the community comes together. As we said before, there's a number of initiatives, and they're all building on their own stack. There's a question about what's going to be the blockchain that will scale, that will support that, and so forth. So we're going to make some announcement, I think, at the end of May. not at this conference, next conference with the Decentralized.com people, that Tufi is here, or maybe he's at the bar for now, but he will talk at the next panel about announcing some of these initiatives that can really bring all the community towards agreeing to some interoperability best practice. I think that's a good way to start. Another trend that I think it's happening, I think, decentralization is a buzzword, but ultimately it's important because we have, we can decentralize the model through which we gather the data, the algorithm, but then insofar that, the processing is happening on centralized servers. I mean, that's a fundamental problem. The more the data that are there, it's going to become an ethical issue there. So one last sentence that I'll leave, which is sort of like quite a challenging thought, is that one of the things that is happening, I mean, we're seeing the emergence of a lot of hardware mining Bitcoin to support that network. And now, with the advent of Lightning Network, some of that will not be needed as much anymore. And on the other hand, we'll see the rise of data mining. So one of the big trends, I think, for 18, 19, will be how do you convert? How do you shift from centralized data center to decentralized data center that can actually have persistent and that can be reliable and that can maybe interoperate with the current blockchain hardware that is out there already. So those are some of the things that keep me up at night.
Yeah, sounds very exciting stuff. We only got 5 minutes. I want to talk about the topic of Skynet. So, what do we do when these cognitive, electronic brain that we create, be it singularly done by corporations or it could be community developed, but nonetheless there's going to be some kind of meta consciousness being created by us. And I look at AI as very much part of our own evolution because we're going to have to transcend the limitations of our body or biological expression of who we are. So somehow we're going to get there. When we get there, then this issue of ethics or even safety, is it safe to humanity? How do we safeguard that? Can decentralized AI, by making it more communally decided or voted, is it a better option than, let's say, that Google sort of kind of create their own thing, and then we kind of go along with their decision?
I think I'm going to be the party pooper here. So, first of all, the machine learning algorithms, and I'm going to use the word machine learning explicitly now, has absolutely nothing to do with our brain, other than there's nodes, and I say nodes, not neurons, there's nodes that communicate through channels with each other and ultimately make correlations between some input and some output. Architecturally, I have to say, after spending the first 5 years of my career looking at monkey brains and trying to understand how they see, super simple objects like cups and trucks and stuff like that, we have absolutely no fucking clue how that works. And it kind of hurts to say that, but that's the state that the cutting edge computational neuroscience, whatever is at right now. Therefore, to say that we're creating consciousness or we're creating intelligent machines is only true to the extent that it's true that my watch is smarter than I am in keeping time. And I think Albert Einstein once said, you cannot judge the fish by its ability to climb a tree. And we don't build machines to be conscious, or we wouldn't even know how to build machines to be conscious, first of all, but secondly, we also don't do that. We build machines to solve very narrow use cases, as I love the pizza quality example, or to recognize, TV screens on images or whatever, or do language processing or language convention. And although sometimes these systems, from an input-output perspective, might remotely look like a human or some sort of consciousness where you can talk to a chatbot or something like that. And I love the Sophia example, right? It's probably one of the reasons of Singularity Net's immense success in fundraising is because a collaborating company, Hanson Robotics, and I don't know if you know about them, has this humanoid robot that looks like a human, and it's not at all conscious, but and I feel comfortable saying that it's not at all conscious, but it sometimes looks like it makes smart decisions and responds in natural language to a natural language question. And that to us is sort of the interface that we communicate with each other, therefore we think it's also like a human. But talking today about consciousness and things like that in the sense of ethics, I think sort of a waste of time. It's a beautiful discussion, it's a philosophical discussion to have, but we as scientists and entrepreneurs, I think, should have a much more important discussion, which is about ethics in the privacy sense of data and in the bias sense, right? So when you, again, talk about the AI and machine learning, today you talk about data set analysis, basically. And data sets today are very, very biased. There's this beautiful example of Google trying to recognize people, and there was a dark-skinned person on an image, and Google got recognized as a monkey, and Google, to be precise. And that is because the data sets we inherently use today are very, very biased. If you look at the web, it's sort of, I hate saying that, but it sort of objectifies women a lot. There's too much sexual content. There's harassment against certain parts of society and all these kinds of things that I think is a much, much bigger and direct impact problem that we as scientists and entrepreneurs should be tackling today, and stop worrying about, all this kind of bullshit discussions about conscious machines. And there's again beautiful opportunities today in democratizing, and when we use the word democratizing or decentralizing, democratizing access to machine learning, because suddenly, and we've done it in an initiative in Africa, suddenly you have African kids building data sets and training algorithms for machine learning use cases, and obviously they're not going to be biased against African origin people, right? So by democratizing it and by giving everyone access to sort of have a say in the algorithms we're developing, I think that's one of the best ways to fight against the bias. And obviously there's other things that have to happen on also a corporate level with these big players where they have to start thinking about it, and luckily slowly there's a conversation that's happening. But I think that's the big thing we should be focusing on when we talk about ethics in AI.
Got it. Yeah, that was great. So, yeah, I agree completely. Like PASCAL had very good argument that a lot of people, they have these misunderstandings, like they think that intelligence and consciousness are the same. But it's better to see this. We had this like revolution, and we built a lot of those like mechanical tools, which is like more powerful with us, but we don't afraid them. We are not afraid to run a car which is faster than we are. We just use them. And now we have the revolution that we're going to build a lot of tools which is smarter than we are in any particular field, but there's no need to be afraid of them. It's like you hire somebody to your job which is smarter than you in marketing, or smarter than you in like handwriting, or smarter than you in PR. You're not afraid of them because you decide like what they do, you agree with them. And those like current state of AI is not even like close to consciousness, because till that moment we don't understand what this consciousness is. We don't understand how to model this on any like primitive level. It's like very, very far from that. And right now, as we said already, we see that for the next 10, 20 years, we're gonna create like a better life for everybody, just automating like a lot of cognitive skills. So we're gonna create like agents which are smarter than we are in any narrow, like recognize how pizza is good or not good. Why should we spend time on this? So this is like routine cognitive job, and a lot of routine cognitive job gonna be automated.
Yeah, just like as a remark, I'll add a philosophical insight for you. So what is like neuron in a neural network? So it has like DIMITRY and neurons. So basically, he receives the information, stores it, and sends it further. That's exactly how people are acting in a social networks. So currently, we have basically a neural network out of 7 billion neurons on our planet. And you can treat Instagram like not as a like, is just a speed optimization function, so you can send a signal in 1 second, not write an email or a paper mail. So I can say we already have a neural network in the size of the whole planet, which is already working for 100%. No one gets actually even a think what it's about. So just think about that, and we'll have I can say, funny times next year.
Okay. Alrighty, well, thank you, panelists, for your amazing discussions. So this concludes our second panel discussion. Why don't we take a 15-minute break, okay?